to Andrea Berecaut Academy. Today we are continuing our Romanian for Expats language courses. Please like and follow our page and share the lesson if possible. Okay, so let's have a quick revision of what we've discussed last time during the first course. It was an introductory course where we've tackled some of the phonetical aspects of the Romanian language. And by the end of that lesson, you were supposed to be able to read simple words, but even most of them, because as you already know, Romanian is a phonetical language, meaning that the written form is equivalent to the spoken form 90% of the time. As each language goes, it has its own exceptions. So we've discussed the alphabet, the diacritical marks, because Romanian has a few letters with diacritical marks, meaning U, A, T, and Sh. And we've discussed their behavior inside the words because some of them behave differently, even though they are pronounced the same. For example, even though it has two forms, it is pronounced the same. So the two forms are depend on the position inside the word. Then we've discussed we've gone through some greetings in Romanian. And then we talked about a few groups of sounds which are specific to Romanian. And those are the che, chi, je, ji, ke, ki, ge, gi groups of sounds and how they behave inside the words and how we are supposed to pronounce them. And then we did some reading. And then we had an activity where I pronounced a few words in Romanian and you were asked to write them to see if you were able to distinguish between the sounds that we've learned. So at the end of this lesson, you will get the answers for that activity. So without further ado, let's move on to today's lesson. Okay, let me give you a brief introduction of what we are going to discuss today. We are going to continue to discuss some phonetical aspects because what we've gone through last time was just a brief part of what really happens in this language. It has its own specificities as every language goes, but we are going to talk about them today and you will see that it is not very complicated. Okay, after that we will try to pronounce some words. Then in this colorful part, we are going to see the exact correlation between Romanian and English. And in this way, you will you will have a better understanding of how Romanian actually works on a syntax level. Even if we are not going to go through that many details right now, this is just for you to have a better understanding of the language from the get-go. And then we are going to dive into some grammatical aspects, but don't worry, we are going to discuss them and you will see that they are not very complicated. And then we are going to conjugate the verb to be, but only in the singular form. Then we are going to do some exercises together and then we will have a similar activity to the one that we've done in the other class. And then at the end, we will practice our reading because it is very important to do that as much as possible in order to get used to the language and to the diacritical marks because these are specific to Romanian. Okay, so let's go to the beginning and let's start. All right, so here we have the diphthongs and the triphthongs in Romanian. Don't be scared about these names. Diphthongs, the prefix d actually means two, and tri obviously means three. So the first two columns are diphthongs because we have two sounds, a vowel and a semi-vowel. And the last column has the triphthongs because it has three sounds, semi-vowel, vowel, and semi-vowel. First of all, what are semi-vowels? Semi-vowels are those sounds which are neither consonants, neither nor vowels. So um, they are somewhere in between them, so to say. We have them in English as well. For example, w is a semi-vowel. You will not have to remember these names and concepts. It's perfectly fine. These are just for you to better memorize and better understand what we are going to discuss next. So here in the first part, those sounds that are bolded are actually the diphthongs. So we will find them in the words that I've given you here in the on the right side. Okay, so I am going to read out loud just the right side, and I invite you to try to pronounce them as well. Okay, erau, erau, rău, râu, leu, auriu, ou, birou, tramvai, răi, mâine, lei, gunoi, spui. So as you can see, we have to pronounce the sound that is most noticeable, so to say, is the vowel. That is why the vowel is the most important, and the semi-vowel is sort of there, but not so accentuated. Okay, let's move on to the next column where we have the order is reversed. So we have the semi-vowel and then we have the vowel. So it goes like this. Cafea, iarnă, iepure, iod, iute, școală, ziua, ziua. And then in the last column, we have the triphthongs, two semi-vowels, and we have a vowel in between them. So, vedeai, vedeau, tăiai, tăiau, miei, franțuzoaică, creioane. These are probably the most problematic, so to say, because we have here a cluster of sounds that we need to pronounce. So neither of them are silent, so to say. We just, when pronouncing them, one of them is more prominent, meaning the vowel, while the rest of them are there to help the pronunciation, so to say. Okay, so let's try to pronounce the following words. Săptămână, secundă, ceas, aproape, delicios, miercuri, aprilie, decembrie, 5, Gheorghe. As you can see, you have here some groups of sounds that I've underlined for you, and these are the groups of sounds that we've discussed last time, the ones that are specific to Romanian and the ones that are most likely to pose a problem for you, especially at the beginning. So we have here ceas, delicios, decembrie, 5, Gheorghe. When it comes to this part of phonetics, the easiest way to understand them is actually to try to pronounce more words that contain them. That is why I recommend practicing reading every time you get a chance. Personally, I include a short text in each lesson because I have to encourage the student to read as much as possible and to correct the pronunciation from the get-go. Because once you start learning a language, it's very important to correct your pronunciation as you go. Because if you learn the incorrect way of pronouncing words, it will be much harder to correct it further on. When you learn other important, when you start learning the grammar or other aspects, it will be much harder to correct then than it is now at the beginning when you are learning. Okay, so let me explain this very colorful part here. So let's look at the first sentence. We have here a few words and their correspondent in English. So let's see how they behave. The reason why I've included these two sentences here, even though you cannot really understand how the language works yet, is because I want to introduce you to some aspects that Romanian has that are different from English. For example, let's look at the first sentence. Cafeaua este pe masă. As you can see, cafeaua is the equivalent of the coffee, meaning that cafeaua is has the definite article. So as we already know, in English, the definite article, the, stands before the noun. Well, in Romanian, that goes quite differently, and the definite article is at the end of the word, and it's attached to the word as a suffix, so to say. So we have cafeaua. If we were to say the boy, we would say băiatul. We have ul at the end, which is a marker of the definite article. All right, we have here, băiatul merge la școală în fiecare zi. Băiatul, here ul is the definite article that is attached at the end of the word. Okay. Let's move on to the pronouns. The pronouns are not very complicated. I've put for you here their correspondence in English. So let's try to pronounce them together. So, eu, tu, el, ea, noi, voi, ei, ele. So you have here highlighted a few phonetical transcriptions. This is how we transcribe, how we pronounce these words. So for example, for eu, we have only two letters, E and U, but when we pronounce them, we can hear a Y sound right at the beginning. I've marked it here, as you can see, the Y sound, but in the written form, it does not appear. So there are actually a few words that we are going to go through today, some of them, not all of them, that you will see that are written with an E at the beginning, but when we pronounce them, we can hear a Y sound. Eu, el, ea, ei, ele. This does not go for every word in Romanian that begins with an E, and that is very important to tackle right now. For example, if we have the word elefant, which is elephant, we will never ever pronounce it with a Y. It's elefant. The E sound is very well pronounced without adding anything to it. So there are just a few words, and once you will learn those, you will never make the mistake of reading other words incorrectly. Okay, so let's look at the pronouns, and these are the pronoun subject, meaning that they can be used as subjects in a sentence. And the subject in Romanian, as in English, has to usually sits in front of the verb. There are some exceptions, but this is the normal rule. So we have el merge la cinema. He is going to the cinema. And another important thing is that unlike English, we have for the pronoun they, we make a distinction based on gender. So here, ei is actually for masculine, the masculine gender, while ele is for the feminine gender, as I've written for you here. So we make this distinction because, as we will see in the other lessons, in Romanian we have three genders. We have masculine, feminine, and neuter. So ei, ele, both of them are translated with they, but they are differentiated based on gender. All right, and here we have a sort of note to remember that if we have a group of nouns which are mixed, meaning both masculine and feminine, we usually refer to them using the subject, the pronoun subject ei, which is normally used for masculine nouns. So for example, if we have George și Lydia sunt aici, George and Lydia are here. If we were to replace these two names with they, so to say, we would use yay, because we have George, which is a boy's name, and Lydia, which is a girl's name. So we would replace these two names with yay and not yele, which is just for feminine nouns. Okay, and we have another sentence, ei sunt aici. They are here. I will put for you every time here the gender, so you will remember and distinguish them better. Okay, another observation is that Romanian has a polite form of address which does not exist in English, as we use the pronoun you. So for example, when we would speak to someone older than us, or if we talk to a person and we want to show them that we respect them, a form of respect, a polite form of address would be dumneavoastră, for example, which can be abbreviated with DVS. Dumneavoastră is gender neutral, meaning that we use this both for females and for males. But this would be translated into English with you, as in English we do not have a polite form of address. Another polite form of address which which distinguishes between genders are dumneata for males, dumneaei for females. But I've put this here just so you are aware of this fact. We will discuss this later on. You don't need to remember them, you just need to know that Romanian has a polite form of address. Okay, we move on to the conjugation of the verb. So, eu sunt, tu ești, el este, or el e, ea este, or ea e. These are another exception of a word that begins with e, but it's pronounced with ye, ești, este. And here the highlighted part is actually the shortened or abbreviated form of the verb. So they mean the same thing. They mean he is, she is, but this is more commonly used in the colloquial form of the language. We can also use este. It's not a mistake. It's not a formal way of speaking, but due to the economy of speech, meaning that we want to use not so many words when speaking, we want to save our breath, so to say, we try to abbreviate everything that we can and to shorten all the words that are possible to shorten. So that is why we have this variant as well. And let's look at the examples. Eu sunt Maria, tu ești doctorul, ea este sora mea. And here you have a short exercise that I want you to do on your own. You have to complete the sentences with the correct conjugation of the verb to be. You have them here in the table and you just have to complete these here. Okay, and let's move on to the activity. I will pronounce these sentences in Romanian and I would like you to write them and to see if you can write them correctly. You will be given the answer either in the comments or in the next lesson. You will hear a slight pause between words, so you will know where to leave the space. Let's look at the first one. Tu ești frumoasă. Tu ești frumoasă. The next one. Ea este profesoară. Ea este profesoară. The next one. Eu sunt obosit. Eu sunt obosit. And the last one. El este Mihai. El este Mihai. Okay. And let's also read this short text. And I would like you to repeat after me and to practice your pronunciation. I will not read again the names of the people here. The first one is not actually a name, is a position. Funcționarul. You have here the translation and you can see what every line means. Ce doriți, vă rog? Vreau să ajung în centru la hotelul Hilton. Cât e de departe și cum pot să ajung acolo? Puteți să luați un autobuz, dar mai bine un taxi de afară, de lângă intrare. Și cam cât costă o călătorie cu taxiul? Depinde de distanță. Trebuie să ajung și în Piața Romană. Unde anume în Piața Romană? La British Council, la bibliotecă. Azi este închis, e sâmbătă. Și când e deschisă biblioteca? Luni. All right. Thank you very much for participating in this lesson. I hope that you've enjoyed it and that you've learned something new. I hope. Here you have the answers for the activity that we've done during our last lesson, and you can verify to see if you've written them correctly. Thank you very much. Mulțumesc. Have a lovely week, a lovely day, and I hope to see you next time during our next lesson. Goodbye. La revedere.